The night was calm over the Pacific Research Complex, a seemingly ordinary facility nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. Inside, Captain J. Park watched the holographic displays flicker with a mixture of anticipation and restraint. Around him, technicians moved with calculated precision, their movements deliberately slow and measured. For years, humanity had played a careful game of deception. The global powers had agreed decades ago to hide their true technological capabilities from potential extraterrestrial observers. Every breakthrough, every advanced system was carefully contained, studied in secret, and then deliberately downplayed. Jace knew the truth. Humanity was a pressure cooker of innovation, held back by diplomatic considerations and a strategic decision to appear less threatening to potential galactic civilizations. The monitoring stations scattered across Earth's orbital zones were far more advanced than any alien intelligence report suggested. A soft beep interrupted his thoughts. Lieutenant Wu Kim approached, her tablet displaying an anomalous energy signature detected near Jupiter's moon Europa. "Sir," she said quietly, "we're picking up increased alien reconnaissance activity." Jay's eyes narrowed. The Calran Confederation had been probing human territories more frequently in recent months. Their scout ships drifted closer to Earth's outer colonies, testing boundaries, measuring responses. Little did they know that every scan, every moment of observation was precisely calculated by human strategists. The global defense network was a complex web of interconnected systems, each component designed to appear less impressive than it truly was. Quantum communication networks disguised as ordinary satellite systems, defensive platforms masked as simple space debris, adaptive AI systems that could transform from seemingly harmless research platforms to devastating defensive networks in milliseconds. In underground facilities across the planet, teams of scientists and military strategists continued their work. Dr. Yuna Park led a research team developing nano-adaptive armor that could reconfigure itself faster than any known weapon could penetrate. Her colleague, Dr. Min Kim, worked on quantum entanglement communication systems that could transmit information across impossible distances instantaneously. The global military leadership had made a crucial decision years ago: appear weak, but be absolutely prepared. Every technological advancement was carefully studied, then partially concealed. Weapons systems were developed but never fully revealed. Defense mechanisms were created but intentionally limited in initial presentations. Jay remembered the secret: meetings. Representatives from every major nation had agreed that humanity's survival depended on being underestimated. The universe was vast, and they knew that appearing too advanced too quickly could provoke unnecessary conflicts. Lieutenant Kim's voice broke his concentration. "Sir, we're detecting increased Calran scanning frequencies near the Europa colony." "Keep monitoring," Jay responded, his voice calm. "But do not engage. Not yet." The Europa colony was more than just a research outpost. It was a carefully constructed trap, designed to appear vulnerable while concealing multiple layers of advanced defensive systems. If the Calrans decided to attack, they would find themselves facing something far different from the helpless human settlement they expected. Outside the research complex, the night remained peaceful. Stars twinkled overhead, silent witnesses to humanity's carefully orchestrated preparation. Satellites drifted in their orbits, their true capabilities hidden behind layers of technological camouflage. Jay Park understood the game they were playing. Patience was their greatest weapon. Deception, their most powerful strategy. The Calrans and other potential alien threats would soon learn that humanity was anything but weak. As dawn began to break, casting soft light across the Pacific Research Complex, another day of silent preparation began. Humanity continued to wait, to prepare, to develop. The gloves were not off, not yet, but they were definitely being loosened. The first warning came as a distant shimmer in the Europa colony's long-range scanners. Lieutenant Hai Shin watched, the holographic display with steady hands, her breath calm despite the approaching threat. The Calran invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts, their battleships casting massive shadows across the icy surface of Europa. Communications chatter crackled with initial panic. Colony defense teams scrambled to their stations, but there was an underlying sense of preparation that felt different from typical defensive responses. The colony looked vulnerable, almost helpless, exactly as planned. Commander Park's voice cut through the communication channels. Hold position. Do not reveal full defensive capabilities. The Calran ships approached with overwhelming confidence. Their massive weapon arrays gleamed with destructive potential, designed to crush what they believed was a simple human outpost. Massive energy signatures powered up, ready to obliterate the seemingly defenseless colony. Hai watched the incoming ships, her fingers hovering near specialized control systems, carefully hidden beneath standard-looking panels. The colony's exterior looked like a typical research station, fragile, exposed, with minimal defensive structures. Calran Commander Vextok broadcast a standard invasion message. Human settlement. Surrender immediately. Resistance is futile. No response came from the colony, just silence and apparent vulnerability. The first wave of Calran assault ships descended, their weapons charging. They expected minimal resistance, a quick conquest that would demonstrate their technological superiority. Massive plasma cannons targeted critical infrastructure, preparing to reduce the human settlement to scattered debris. What happened next would become a legendary moment in human military history. As the first plasma bolts approached the colony's surface, something unexpected occurred. The apparently weak defensive systems didn't just activate, they transformed. Quantum adaptive shields materialized from what seemed like empty space, absorbing and redirecting massive energy signatures. Hidden, weapon platforms emerged from beneath the icy surface, camouflaged perfectly with Europa's landscape. These were not standard defensive weapons, but next-generation systems that human engineers had been developing in absolute secrecy. Hae-Shin's fingers moved with surgical precision. Each weapon system came online with calculated efficiency. The first Calran ships found themselves caught in a sophisticated technological trap that they never anticipated. Particle beam weapons that could tear through advanced shielding. Quantum entanglement disruption systems that could instantly neutralize entire ship communication networks. Adaptive nano-weapon platforms that could reconfigure themselves faster than enemy targeting systems could compensate. The Calran commanders' confident broadcast transformed into confused panic. Impossible. These are not standard human defensive capabilities. Within minutes, the first wave of invasion ships became expanding clouds of atomic particles. The seemingly vulnerable human colony had just demonstrated something far more terrifying than simple resistance. It showed calculated, overwhelming technological superiority. Commander Park's voice remained calm. First phase complete. Continue monitoring. The Europa colony wasn't just defending itself, it was sending a message to every watching civilization. Humanity was not what they appeared to be. The gloves were coming off, and the universe was about to learn a painful lesson. Hai watched the holographic display, her expression unchanged. Years of preparation, of careful technological development, of strategic patience, had led to this moment. The Calran Confederation had made a critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity. As debris from the destroyed invasion ships drifted across Europa's icy landscape, a new chapter in galactic relationships was being written. The first strike had been delivered, and it was only the beginning. The message was clear. Humanity was ready. Humanity was waiting. And humanity would not be conquered. The silence that followed was more terrifying than any weapon, a promise of what was yet to come. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's technological capabilities unfolded like a deadly flower of innovation. Commander Seok Kim stood on the bridge of the defense flagship, his fingers tracing holographic battle maps that seemed to dance with impossible complexity. Earth's hidden technological arsenal began to reveal itself with surgical precision. The quantum entanglement weapons were nothing like any known technology. Where traditional weapons would take minutes or hours to reach their targets, these systems struck instantaneously, converting entire enemy squadrons into scattered atomic particles before their crews could even comprehend the attack. Dr. Una Park's adaptive nano-armor represented the pinnacle of human engineering. The material wasn't just a defensive system, it was a living, thinking shield that could absorb, redirect, and neutralize incoming energy with impossible speed. Calran weapon systems that had dominated galactic conflicts for centuries suddenly became obsolete. The first major counterattack happened near the Orion Arm. 3 primary Calran battle groups approached, believing they would crush the human resistance. What they encountered was a technological nightmare beyond their comprehension. Human ships seemed to phase in and out of reality. Weapon systems transformed mid-battle, adapting to every Calran strategy faster than their computers could calculate. AI-integrated battle networks worked with such perfect synchronization that it appeared almost supernatural. Lieutenant Hai Shin managed the central coordination system. Her fingers moved like a symphony conductor, each touch sending waves of technological destruction across multiple star systems. The Calran communication networks began to collapse, their supposedly impenetrable encryption systems unraveling like cheap paper. "They thought we were primitive," Sayok muttered, watching another Calran battleship dissolve into atomic dust. "They never understood what we were capable of." The technological revolution wasn't just about weapons. Human scientists had been developing systems that reimagined the very nature of warfare. Quantum communication networks allowed instantaneous strategic coordination across vast distances. Adaptive AI could predict and counter enemy movements before they were even conceived. Military analysts from other galactic civilizations watched in disbelief. Humanity had not just developed advanced technology, they had fundamentally reimagined technological potential. Every weapon, every defensive system was a work of art, a perfect blend of innovation and destructive capability. Artificial intelligence systems worked in perfect harmony with human strategists. Where traditional AI would follow rigid protocols, these systems demonstrated creativity, adaptability, and a level of strategic thinking that seemed almost sentient. The Calran Confederation's military command found themselves facing a nightmare scenario. Their most advanced weapon systems were being neutralized in real time. Their communication networks were being hijacked and reprogrammed. Their strategic advantages were being dismantled with terrifying efficiency. Within 17 minutes of the full counterattack, 3 primary Calran battle groups ceased to exist, not defeated, not damaged, completely erased from existence. The message was clear. Humanity was not just another emerging civilization. They were a technological force that had been waiting, preparing, developing in absolute secrecy. Seok Kim's communication broadcast was simple and direct. "This is a warning to all potential aggressors. Humanity will defend itself, completely and absolutely." Scientific journals across known space would later describe this moment as the technological singularity of human warfare. It wasn't just a military victory. It was a fundamental shift in understanding technological potential. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were not just another species to be conquered or controlled. They were a technological power that had been deliberately holding back, waiting for the right moment to show their true capabilities. As the last remnants of the Calran attack dissolved into cosmic dust, a new era began. The universe would never look at humanity the same way again. The technological revolution had begun, and it was only the beginning. The war room buzzed with calculated energy. Dr. Yuna Park stood before massive holographic displays, her fingers tracing complex strategic patterns that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Humanity's military leadership had transformed warfare into an art form of psychological and technological manipulation. Global strategy teams worked with unprecedented coordination. Every movement, every decision was a carefully orchestrated dance of technological superiority. The Calran Confederation found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to predict their every possible action before they could even conceive it. Quantum communication networks allowed human commanders to share information instantaneously across multiple star systems. Where traditional military communications would take hours or days, human strategic teams communicated in microseconds, their AI systems working in perfect harmony with human intuition. Commander Seok Kim watched as entire enemy fleet formations dissolved before they could even complete their attack sequences. The psychological warfare was as devastating as the physical assault. Calran military units began to experience complete system failures, communication blackouts, and strategic collapses that defied traditional understanding of warfare. Lieutenant Hai Shin managed the central coordination systems. Her fingers moved like a conductor's baton, each touch sending waves of strategic disruption across multiple fronts. Enemy communication networks crumbled, their most secure systems becoming nothing more than open communication channels for human intelligence teams. The true genius of humanity's approach became clear. They weren't just fighting a war. They were dismantling an entire civilization's military infrastructure with surgical precision. Every Calran strategic attempt was met with a counter-strategy so complex and adaptive that it seemed almost supernatural. Artificial intelligence systems worked alongside human strategists in ways no other civilization had ever achieved. These were not simple computational tools, but adaptive intelligence networks that could learn, predict, and counter enemy movements in real time. Where traditional AI followed rigid protocols, these systems demonstrated creativity that bordered on sentience. Psychological warfare became a primary weapon. Calran military units found their most secure communication channels compromised, their strategic plans exposed, their leadership structure systematically dismantled. The enemy wasn't just losing battles, they were losing their collective will to fight. Dr. Yuna Park's research teams had developed neural disruption technologies that could impact entire species' communication networks. Enemy ships found their crews experiencing collective confusion, their most basic communication systems turning against them. They never understood our potential, Seok muttered, watching another massive Calran defense grid collapse. We've been preparing for this moment for generations. The strategic dominance wasn't just about military might. It was a complete demonstration of technological, psychological, and strategic superiority. Humanity had transformed warfare from a physical conflict to a multi-dimensional chess game where they controlled every possible move. Intelligence reports suggested that Calran military leadership was beginning to fracture. The once unified confederation started showing internal conflicts, their confidence completely shattered by humanity's unprecedented approach to warfare. Adaptive nano-communication systems allowed human units to communicate and coordinate in ways that defied traditional understanding of military communication. Each soldier, each ship, each strategic unit became part of a living, breathing intelligence network that could adapt and respond faster than any known technological system. The most terrifying aspect was the apparent ease with which humanity conducted this war. There was no desperation, no chaos. Each strategic move was calculated, precise, almost elegant in its complexity. As galactic civilizations watched, a new understanding began to form. Humanity was not just another emerging species. They were a technological force that had been waiting, preparing, developing in absolute secrecy. Commander Seok Kim's final broadcast to the Calran leadership was simple and direct. Surrender is your only logical option. The universe held its breath. Humanity had just redefined the very concept of strategic warfare. The Calran Confederation was discovering a painful truth. They had awakened a sleeping technological giant. And now, that giant was fully awake. The Buon Galactic Conference Hall stood silent as Captain J. Park walked toward the central platform. Representatives from hundreds of civilizations watched with a mixture of fear, respect, and absolute uncertainty. Humanity had transformed from a seemingly insignificant species to the most powerful force in known space. Diplomatic channels that once ignored humans now trembled at their approach. The Calran Confederation, once the most feared military power in the galaxy, sat broken and defeated. Their entire civilization had been systematically dismantled not through brute force, but through an unprecedented display of technological and strategic superiority. We are establishing new galactic protocols. Jay spoke, his voice calm and measured. No dramatic speeches, no theatrical displays of power, just a simple statement of fact. The technological revolution that began with the Europa colony had completed its final transformation. Humanity was no longer asking for a place at the galactic table. They were redesigning the entire table. Dr. Una Park stood behind Jay, her team of scientists and strategists representing humanity's true power. They had not just won a war, they had fundamentally restructured the understanding of technological potential. Quantum communication networks now connected civilizations in ways never before imagined. Human-developed adaptive intelligence systems became the new standard for technological communication. Species that once looked down on humans now sought their technological guidance. The terms were simple and absolute. Any civilization attempting aggressive action would face immediate and total technological neutralization. Humanity's defensive systems could disable entire fleet formations before they could even launch an attack. Lieutenant He Shin managed the diplomatic communication systems. Each transmission carried an underlying message. Humanity would protect itself, absolutely and completely. Galactic trade routes were redesigned. Economic systems were restructured. The technologies humanity had developed during their period of silent preparation now became the foundation of a new galactic order. The most shocking revelation was not humanity's military might, but their approach to technological development. They had not just created advanced systems, they had reimagined the very concept of technological progress, adaptive nanotechnologies that could solve environmental challenges, quantum communication networks that could connect distant civilizations instantly, AI systems that could predict and prevent potential conflicts before they could begin. Commander Seok Kim oversaw the restructuring of galactic defense protocols. Where previous systems were rigid and reactive, the new frameworks were flexible, adaptive, and fundamentally intelligent. The Calran representatives, once proud and aggressive, now sat in complete submission. Their entire civilization had been systematically neutralized not through destruction, but through a complete technological and strategic dismantling. "We are not conquerors," Jay explained to the assembled representatives. "We are architects of a new galactic understanding. Technological patents developed by human research teams became the new standard across multiple civilizations. Where other species saw limitations, humans saw opportunities for innovation." The reckoning was not just a military victory. It was a fundamental restructuring of galactic potential. Humanity had shown that true power was not about aggression, but about intelligent, adaptive development. Alien civilizations that once viewed humans as a minor, emerging species now sought their guidance. Research partnerships, technological exchanges, and collaborative development became the new normal. Dr. Una Park's research teams began developing collaborative technologies that could solve challenges facing multiple civilizations. Climate restoration, resource management, interstellar communication. Humanity's approach was comprehensive and transformative. As the conference concluded, one thing became absolutely clear. The universe had fundamentally changed. The species that had been holding back was now setting the standard for technological and strategic development. The gloves were not just off. They had been completely redesigned.